We begin with breaking news. A black man who attorneys say has the intellectual capacity of a child is set to be executed tomorrow. Despite pleas from members of Congress and even the Pope, Ernest Johnson is scheduled to be executed tomorrow. Johnson was convicted of killing 3 people during a 1994 convenience store robbery in Columbia, Missouri. Johnson's attorneys say he was born with fetal alcohol syndrome, has an intellectual disability, and about 20% of his brain tissue due to surgery to remove a tumor. Despite those pleas, Missouri's Republican Governor Mike Parson has denied Johnson's request for clemency, saying, quote, "The state is prepared to deliver justice and carry out the lawful sentence Mr. Johnson received." Johnson's last hope is intervention from the U.S. Supreme Court. Joining me to discuss is veteran death penalty lawyer Kelley Henry. Always a great time having you on, Kelley. Thank you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Now, you're not representing Ernest Johnson, but this is what you do and have done for a while. And that's fighting death penalty cases. So I'm really eager to get your insight on this case. What stands out to you about this case?
You know, this case is so outrageous in the sense that we know that Mr. Johnson suffers from an intellectual disability, and yet he can't get due process in any court of law because the court in Missouri that considered his claim used a clinical standard that the American Psychiatric Association has announced they are backing away from. They used a standard that the Supreme Court has itself rejected, and yet we see once again a circumstance where a procedural technicality is really keeping him out of court. I know that his lawyers are hoping that the U.S. Supreme Court will take up this case, which when they filed a petition for writ of certiorari earlier today.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. I wanted to actually ask you if you think that he has a case. But speaking of the Supreme Court, they ruled in 2002 that it was cruel and unusual to execute people with intellectual disabilities, but it allowed states to determine the threshold for that disability. How has that impacted Johnson's case over the years?
You know, it's been chaos for many states to try to implement the Atkins decision, the decision from 2002 that you're talking about. And what happened in Missouri is that they failed to implement the Atkins decision in a way that provides due process. For Mr. Johnson in particular, the jury had to make the decision about whether or not he had an intellectual disability, and yet, as his lawyers point out, they were not given proper guidance or instruction in terms of making that decision. And his lawyers have now discovered that one of the jurors was a holdout because he had a misunderstanding of what it means to be intellectually disabled. And that really should be concerning for all of us, because this is a man who is going to be executed tomorrow in violation of the U.S. Constitution, and yet the courts have said there's nothing that they can do about it, that their hands are tied.
Wow. Well, in the statement, Missouri's governor said Johnson received due process, but this is the same governor, Kelley, who pardoned the couple seen confronting Black Lives Matter protesters outside their home, while at the same time chose not to pardon someone like Kevin Strickland, a man convicted of a murder that prosecutors now say he didn't commit. What do you make of the governor's response?
Well, there's certainly a disturbing pattern in Missouri in particular with the mishandling of cases involving people who are African American, that a white couple would get executive clemency, and yet a man who has demonstrated that he has an intellectual disability and that it would be unconstitutional to execute him, even when he has people from the Pope, a former governor, 2 members of Congress, and a former member of the Missouri Supreme Court, all speaking out saying that it would be unconstitutional to execute Mr. Johnson. But we know clemency is an act of politics, and people who are on death row don't have a constituency.
Now, you've seen Johnson's application to the Supreme Court for a stay of execution. Do you think he actually has a viable case?
You know, he presents really important issues, and an issue that is before the court in another case. In fact, there's a federal case United States versus Kuntz, which actually arises out of Missouri, where the United States government has joined the petitioner in that case, saying that the court should grant, vacate, and remand the case because of the change of the American Psychiatric Association's definition of people with intellectual disability. It would be consistent with the court's practice for them to issue a stay of execution for Mr. Johnson while they're considering the Kuntz issue, because they've passed Kuntz twice now, which means they're looking at his case. And Mr. Johnson presents a similar issue. The standard has changed. The American Psychiatric Association has said that they're changing their standard. Why do we have to hurry up and execute this man tomorrow when there could be a stay of execution and more thoughtful consideration given to the case? The problem, of course, is the shadow docket and cases having to be decided on the fly by the U.S. Supreme Court with less than 24 hours.
Kelley, Missouri is one of 4 states that resumed executions this year after many were halted by the pandemic. What are you seeing nationally concerning the movement to ban the death penalty? Are there major changes ahead?
We are definitely seeing momentum in favor of moratoriums and outright abolition of the death penalty, and that is because politicians, conservative and liberal, as well as their constituents, are seeing that the death penalty is simply a very expensive, failed government program, and that money can be spent better in other places with victim services, law enforcement, and other things that we can do to help prevent the spread of crime to begin with.
All right, there's been some statements, some outpouring of support for Johnson, one being from Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush. She posted to Twitter before the governor declined his clemency application, and she wrote, "Not in my state. Missouri plans to execute a human being, a man who is intellectually disabled. Ernest Johnson's execution wouldn't just be unconstitutional, it would be a crime against humanity." And this statement from the Vatican on behalf of Pope Francis, quote, "His Holiness wishes to place before you the simple fact of Mr. Johnson's humanity and the sacredness of human life." Kelley, why, when the death penalty is abolished in every other developed country, is it so entrenched in our legal system and so hard to get our elected leaders to understand why it's so fundamentally flawed?
Because people get elected on the death penalty. You can take a story of any crime, and once you hire publicists to make it a political football, then it's easy for people to use my clients' families and the victims' families, quite frankly, as a stepping stone into the next political office. And they don't care about the fact that they're wasting taxpayer money along the way. If we could actually just sit down and have a reasonable conversation about public safety, I think we would all understand and see that the death penalty is not making any of us safer. And in fact, the studies show that the jurisdictions that retain the death penalty actually have higher crime rates and higher murder rates.
All right, death penalty lawyer Kelley Henry, thank you for all of the good work that you're doing and for your time tonight. Thank you.